4 brand new teams and a lot of cars that have never jousted before. Welcome to the Junkyard Joust, everybody. I'm Aaron Yonda, and this ought to be an interesting joust. Here are the 5 teams competing: Diora Bora, Cerulean Slashers, Vintage Vitriol, Destruction Datsun, and Lambo number 5. Let's take a closer look. Cerulean Slashers is a new team featuring 1 returning car. It's the Ooze Coupe, who holds the record for the most eliminations in 1 match. Diora Bora, a team of 5 different types of Diora cars. Destruction Datsun, sponsored by Chicken Rings Onion Wings. This is a pretty sweet looking team of Datsuns that are ready to cause some destruction. And our only returning team with 5 new Lambos, Lambo number 5. It's gonna be kind of painful to crash these, but it must be done. Vintage Vitriol is a team of classic race cars. It's gonna be fun to watch these ones joust. Speaking of jousting, let's head out to the junkyard and do just that. Evil Weevil is in place, sponsored by Track Buffer LLC. And we'll kick off round 1 with Diora 2 Custom for Diora Bora. The randomized running order is up. If a car is sideways or upside down at the end of the round, it's out. 3 teams will move on, 2 will not. Super Modified up first for Cerulean Slashers, sponsored by Mark the Music Lover. The Slashers have a lot of undercutting power. No undercut here, but this team definitely looks like they're ready to slash. The Jay Leno tank car for Vintage Vitriol, sponsored by Chorgoth the Infinite Horror. The tank car forces Super Modified to do some undercutting underneath that Diora, and there's a little pileup going on. The Fairlady 2000, sponsored by Chicken Rings Onion Rings, got a chance to do some damage here. And Fairlady does just that. 2 eliminations, the first eliminations of this round. Diora flips straight over upside down. Super Modified goes sideways. Could still have a chance of recovery there, but it's unlikely. First up for Lambo number 5, Sion FKP, sponsored by Sid from Cybertron. The Sion collides and goes sideways. Too much force and it can't handle it. Wow, that is not how you want to start out. And I guess I was wrong about Super Modified. Super Modified popping down and making a recovery. Here comes another Diora, sponsored by Stump's Tree Farm. The Diora slides into the Cian, and the Cian does not come anywhere close to making a recovery. Madfast for the Slashers, sponsored by Emo Dingo. Madfast gets a nice hit and finishes off Diora, can't get under the Datsun. Sometimes in these matches I have an idea who I think might win, but in this match I just have no idea. These teams, as far as I can tell, are all pretty equal. Aerosculpt is up for Vitriol, sponsored by Beaks Busted Barn Finds. Aerosculpt gets a nice undercut underneath the undercutter. Madfast goes upside down, still on the track, even gets under the Datsun somehow with that low back end. Datsun, however, slides off to relative safety. Aerosculpt curbside, but what a devastating hit. 71 Datsun 510, sponsored by Chicken Rings Onion Wings. The Datsun slides neatly into place, not too fast of a hit, doesn't do any damage. The Huracan LP610-4, sponsored by Farty Marty. The Huracan knocks that Datsun loose, gets it off the track completely, and breaks part of it off. The air splitter on the front of that Datsun just peels right off, shears it from the car, and we've got some damage in this match now. Diora 2 Custom is up, sponsored by Dr. Gonzo. And a massive hit by the Diora 2. Paint chips flying everywhere. Everything flying everywhere. Somehow, no eliminations on that hit, but a lot of cars getting tossed around. Hot Wheels 500, sponsored by Regal Radio. The Hot Wheels 500 so low to the ground, it does manage to get underneath that Diora, but the Diora is so heavy and stable, it does not flip over. Yet. Jaguar D-Type, sponsored by Jedi. A solid impact and the Hot Wheels 500 gets underneath the Huracan. Huracan gets tossed off the track upside down, eliminated. The splitter for the Datsun gets hurled off the track. Diora is safe, but the Huracan is out. 75 Datsun Sunny Truck, sponsored by Chome. The Datsun pops that Jaguar up and over, and there's no space for the Jaguar to make a recovery. Gets bobbled around and flips over sideways, and that's probably going to be an elimination. The Ascenza SCV12, sponsored by Hendrika's Heavy Hauling. A nice looking car, and wow, does it have some undercutting power there. It gets under the Datsun Sunny Truck and the Hot Wheels 500, but does not cause them to get eliminated. They certainly aren't in good positions though. And now the Diora 3, sponsored by the Miskatonic Automotive Club. The Diora 3 plows into the pile of cars. The Sunny Truck gets tipped over upside down. Hot Wheels 500 manages to stay alive for the moment, and the Diora is sideways. And now it's time for the Ooze Coupe for the Slashers, sponsored by Amethyst Auto Club. Ooze Coupe locks it into place and does a nasty elimination of Diora 3. That was a heavy hit. I think the Ooze Coupe has gained some weight or something. And look at that, the Jaguar D-Type made a recovery. Looks like the ramp on the Ooze Coupe is set up. First car to take the plunge, the Catapult with Baby Cookie. That's appropriate, sponsored by Bentley's Brakes and Bumpers. Look at me! Catapult goes flying off the Ooze Coupe into the crates. Cookie gets tossed out and gets bobbled all over the place, bounces and eventually takes cover almost underneath the track. And the Catapult, after all that spinning, stays alive and makes a nice landing. 71 Datsun 510, sponsored by PriceX Private Parts. Ooh, and this Datsun loses its splitter as well on the back of Ooze Coupe. That did, however, slow it down enough so it didn't go off the jump and eliminate itself. So far, Destruction Datsun doing more damage to their own cars than anything else. The Aventador Coupe, sponsored by Sicken. The Aventador takes the jump with style and grace, a little upward bump, and lands it perfectly. And the back of Ooze Coupe slides over the top of that splitter, raising the car up a little bit. I don't know if that'll come into play or not. Here comes the original Diora, sponsored by Brendan Walsh. The Diora does take the jump and goes all the way to the crates, bounces backwards upside down, no chance of a recovery there. Nowhere to land, really, and the Datsun Detritus is moved out of the way. Next up for the Slashers, Hyperfin, sponsored by Pazuzu Damon. Hyperfin does not go off the jump. It's got a low enough front that it almost stops itself, but it's poised right now, and I have a feeling it's going off that jump whether it likes it or not when it takes this hit from Turbulence, sponsored by Sloss Automotive Sachet and Buffet. Turbulence knocks the Hyperfin for a loop, but the Hyperfin makes a nice twisting recovery and lands it. And Turbulence slides off to the right just a little bit. Might be a safe spot to be in, we'll see. Next up, it's the 71 Fairlady Z for Destruction Datsun, sponsored by Judy Collins. The Fairlady, wow, I didn't expect that. It's got a low front end and stops itself from going off the back of Ooze Coupe. Nice prevent there. Datsun's got to be happy about that. The 62 Countach LP 500, sponsored by Jason's Bits Boys. The Countach, the most expensive car on that team, boots the Datsun up and over the jump and then climbs on top of Ooze Coupe itself and cuts its resale value in half. That is the final car of round 1. Out of the 25 cars in the competition, we lost 8 in this round. Half of those cars from the Diora team. Wow, they did not do well in this round. Let's take a look at the aftermath. Diora Bora just down to 1 Diora. Cerulean and Datsun each lost only 1. Vintage Vitriol did not lose a car, and the Lambos lost 2. Vintage had a great round 1. They're starting off with the Jay Leno tank car. There's the round 2 running order. Cerulean Slasher is going to be coming down next. And they've chosen Super Modified. Super Modified takes the tank car out. Tosses it head over tail, upside down, up by the crates. Nice takedown there. And that is what the Slashers are all about. Looks like Vintage won't be getting out of this one with 5 vehicles. A slow hit on Super Modified, and the Fairlady can't get it off the track. Evil Weevil, though, gets booted. A vicious slam by the Countach, and Super Modified goes over into the safety area. Almost no chance of a recovery right there, although we have seen it happen. The last remaining Diora slams into the Countach and knocks it off the track. Wow, there's paint everywhere. Surely that has reduced the value of that car to nothing. The custom Diora manages to stay locked in the track and keep that team's hopes alive. A big pound from the Jaguar D-Type that barely survived last round, and it does the trick here, taking out one of the Datsuns with a little chain reaction. Wow, there's a lot of paint coming off that vehicle. The bottom of some of these Datsuns is just as nice looking as the top. The 500 pops the Jaguar into the sky off the track, and it goes sideways, gets hung up on Evil Weevil. Meanwhile, that Diora makes a handy escape off the track and might just keep that team in this match. A little kick there from the Datsun 510 pushes the 500 sideways. The Aventador forces the Datsun up and over towards the Jaguar, which did it just make a recovery? Or is that upside down? Upside down. All right, well, no recovery this time. Turbulence smacks the Aventador off the track. Aventador goes sideways, and it might not stay like that. We shall see. Oozcoof smashes its way forward up to the front of the track, bounces Turbulence backwards, takes out the 500 and the Datsun. Nearly a triple takedown, but Turbulence manages to escape and tries to back as far away as possible. Right now, looking at the field, there have been a lot of eliminations, only 3 cars actually right side up. The pink Datsun knocks Turbulence over the top of Oozcoof. And the question is the front of that Datsun still low enough to prevent any sort of jump? The Asenza bursts onto the scene, and the Datsun stops itself from going off of Oozcoof to its own detriment as it flips over after getting hung up, goes sideways, cannot make a recovery. Turbulence sneaks out to safety. Cookie and Catapult drive up on top of Oozcoof, push Asenza off to the left. Cookie goes flying off to the right, and right now Catapult poised in an iffy position. Cookie's getting some sun.
Where am I at?
Hyperfin proves able to prevent going off that jump yet again. Little bounce back and almost locks it in, but curbside now. That could be bad. Catapult tries to fill up the gap on the track. Fair Lady pops Hyperfin up in the air, and it looks close to a sideways to me right now. Catapult tips over and lands safe for the moment. I think things are going to get stirred up on the next hit. Final car of the round coming down. And a solid but unfortunate hit there by Aerosculpt. Only thing it manages to do is eliminate fellow teammate Catapult as the Fair Lady Z makes a nice recovery off to the side. And we had a massive number of eliminations in this round, more than the first round. 11 cars have been eliminated. There's all your eliminations, including the parts that broke off of them. Amazingly, all 5 teams are going to be still in this match. Let's take a look at the aftermath. Cerulean Slashers, Vintage Vitriol, and Destruction Datsun all lost 3 cars. That puts everybody except Vintage down to 1 car, and with their survival, Diora stayed in the match. Here we go, round 3, Aerosculpt starting us off. Vintage has 2 cars remaining, only team with that many. The Asenza annihilates Aerosculpt, gets right underneath, tosses it up into the safety area along with Evil Weevil, and that was a nice elimination right there. Vintage could be in trouble. Big smack from veteran Oozcoof, and Asenza gets tossed sideways behind Oozcoof somehow. Aerosculpt slides off upside down, and Oozcoof has that jump set up. The Diora clears the track. The Asenza and Oozcoof are just ejected from the competition instantaneously. What a massive hit. The Diora might have just gotten its team into the main event with that one hit. Wow. The Slashers almost certainly out of the match. LAMBO remains to be seen. The Fair Lady Z bounds into the back of the Diora, and wow, what a heavy hit. If I'm not mistaken, did that car just start to come apart? Oh boy, something weird going on there. Destruction Datsuns, I think they're earning their name right now. Here comes the final car of the round, Turbulence, and it slams into the Datsun. The Datsun breaks in half, but stays on the track right side up, and is gonna keep the Datsuns in this competition, even in that condition. Wow, Datsuns destroyed themselves, and yet they are gonna move on to the main event. What a match. Some serious devastation in this particular competition. There are the 3 cars that were eliminated. Cerulean and LAMBO going bye-bye. And here's a look at the point totals in case you were curious. Doesn't apply to anything here because 3 teams were still alive at the end. Your winners in this match, and moving on to the main event, Vintage Vitriol, Diora Bora, and Destruction Datsun. Now their teams will have some time to do any repairs that they need. We'll see them in a while in the main event. Thank you for watching the Junkyard Joust. The Apocalypse Joust will be starting very soon. Keep your eyes open for that, plus a couple special events coming down the pipes. Thank you for watching, commenting, and liking, and subscribe if you're new to the channel for more videos. See you next time, everybody.